Good afternoon, and thank you for watching my video. I'm going to start my my presentation here with the prompts at the end. They were asking about characteristics of unsafe structures in the area as they relate to code requirements. Identify the construction type in your area that poses the biggest hazard for potential conflagration and fire spread. And explain how plans, review, and structural control as a means of fire protection would improve the safety of unsafe structures in the area. Okay, so I'm gonna show you this house. I'm gonna walk by it. I don't want to stand in front of it because they're gonna say, "Who the hell is this guy?" But I'm gonna have to turn my phone here. This is a Victorian house. Victorian houses are what they call balloon construction, and the problem with balloon construction is the studs go from the base of the house all the way to the top, and you can tell when you look at the windows. See how they're directly aligned? The issue with this, because when they were built, there wasn't insulation put in there, and this was before platform construction. The issue is when a fire starts on any level of the house, especially if it's in the wall, it's going to travel all the way to the top floor almost immediately. So my brother-in-law, he's a firefighter with the San Jose Fire Department. He told me of all the types of fires, that is the one that is the biggest, basically the biggest danger and the highest likelihood that by the time they get there, it's going to be burnt to the ground. Thought that was interesting. There are ways where a building department would get a house like this to be compliant. The main way, because if houses like this, a lot of times are known as historical. So if it's a historical home, it has to be categorized as such. And then if they want any type of renovations done to the home, they must notify the building department of the city. So when the building department gets notified that they want to do a renovation, a building inspector will come out. He'll look at the area that they want to improve on, and they'll essentially use this as an opportunity where, yeah, okay, granted, you can go ahead and renovate your kitchen or what have you, but there are newer fire codes, obviously much older than the 100 years ago when this house was built, most likely, because a lot of these homes in Pleasanton are 100 years old. It's been here for a long time. So they essentially will mandate that when they're doing the renovations, the building is updated to a fire code standpoint, at least in the area that they're renovating. It's kind of a gray area as far as the full house is concerned, because the argument is if they fully renovate everything, it eliminates the characteristics of what makes the house a historical home, right? So that's how that goes. Make sure I covered everything on this first section here real quick. Okay, yeah, so I think we've kind of satisfied that. So plans review and structural control is the act of, demanding that the homeowner notifies the building department if they want to do a renovation, which triggers the inspection, which allows the building code enforcement agency to essentially say, okay, these renovations need to be made on your home. So I think we've pretty much satisfied that part of the question here. I'm going to move to the front of the prompt now. And some of these questions will be answered while I'm talking about the 3 E's. So the 3 E's of fire prevention are education, enforcement, and engineering. So I'll start with engineering. Engineering would be hardwiring smoke detectors, also having a battery backup, but hardwiring smoke detectors to the power of the house. And the reason this is a good engineering control is because if a smoke detector is hardwired, if the battery goes out, or if somebody takes the battery out because they don't want to hear the beeping, and they're going to go to the store tomorrow and get the battery, and then time goes by and they haven't done it. This is an engineering control that basically makes the smoke detectors still function. And, obviously smoke detectors play a huge role. I forget what the exact statistics were in the reading, but I know it mentioned that like smoke detectors prevented, like, I think it was at least 50% of major fires. So that is an engineering control. That is one of the 3 E's. The next one I'll go to is enforcement. There's 2 types of enforcement. If it's arson, it goes to the fire suppression team. But if it's just standard building code inspections and what have you, or design reviews for a new building, that would go to the fire prevention bureau within the fire department. So a little bit of background. We're in Pleasanton. It's a reasonably sized town. There's a town next door called Livermore. And so they've collaborated to create this, 2-town fire department called the Livermore Pleasanton Fire Department. And essentially they have more resources because they're pooled, so that they can make sure that all these buildings get inspected and so forth. So a little bit more about enforcement. And I know this kind of goes into how code is enforced in your jurisdiction, right? Is different types of buildings have different time frames for how frequently they have to be inspected. So take a public school, for example. That has to be annually inspected. The reason why is because obviously, there's children in there. Children are twice as likely to die in a fire than anyone else. So places like that, it's annual. You could say that a nursing home would be the same thing. Restaurants in this area is between every 2 and 5 years. And then homes, they say about 7 to 8 years. But, my family owns property here in Pleasanton, and essentially they don't necessarily make you do the home inspections until you sell the house. But ideally, at least for the purpose of your home insurance going down, you could mention that you had a fire marshal come by and inspect your home, and that could actually lower your bill. So a little bit further about enforcement. Sorry, I know I keep rambling here, it feels like, but when there is a finding, like something that is against building code that is uncovered in one of these inspections that the fire prevention bureau does, they will give the owner a specific period of time to fix the issue. Now, a lot of the times it's a week. So obviously there's going to be costs associated with fixing these things a lot of the time. And the local government and the state government sometimes will actually rebate the costs that are associated with fixing these findings. Sometimes they're not. But where they really get you, and the reason why people definitely will get it done, is because after about a week, it turns into a daily fine. So long story short, they're enforced by levying a daily fine, and that's what makes these owners of these buildings comply. Finally, the third E, which in my opinion is probably the most important, especially how we already mentioned, small children are twice as likely to die in a fire than anyone else, is education. So the Pleasanton Livermore Fire Department has initiatives where they allow, different school districts to come at different times, and they'll come to the fire station. It'll be an interactive type of deal. They'll teach them things like stop, drop, and roll, establishing an egress point, or knowing all the exits to their home, knowing where to meet, and establishing that with their family in the event of a fire, where they would establish their muster points outside. Long story short, they also teach them things like how to use a fire extinguisher sometimes, and what does a fireman look like, and when to call 911. Essentially, the education part of fire prevention is crucial, But really the only time that I've seen, you know, an active, you know, involvement in that is with the younger kids. I mean, obviously, you know, you could be a grown adult and you could Google it, you could go to the website, and they have plenty of information on there as far as, you know, education for fires. But, you know, that's, long story short, is it for education. And I'm going to look at this list again, just make sure that I've covered all these prompts here. Okay, identify local organizations that determine fire resistance of building materials, and identify the types of tests used to determine fire ratings of certain building components in your area. Okay, so it asks locally. So I'll start by saying that there is one accredited laboratory in my area, which is the San Francisco Bay Area. It's located in San Jose. I actually have the name of it written down here. It is the Production Certification Consultants. So they're located here in San Jose, but there's about 30 total accredited laboratories that can make determinations for fire resistance ratings that CAL FIRE will accept. And it was funny because when I was looking through that list on the fire marshal's website, Underwriter Laboratories came up. So my uncle actually works for Underwriter Laboratories in Illinois, and like I would say a good third of all of these locations where they're able to do these tests belong to Underwriter Laboratories. So thought that was interesting that my own uncle is heavily involved in this type of thing. There's a variety of different tests, and I have a bunch of different types of tests written down here. I'll kind of list them off for you, but you know, the idea behind each of these tests is making sure things like, you know, will the wall maintain its structure in the event of an actual fire? Like they'll use the actual characteristics, temperature, you know, all of the environmental things that would happen during a fire, and they would apply it to this testing area. They would look for things like, you know, does the wall get penetrated by a hose? You know, if it's being sprayed at the fire, does the wall effectively keep all of the smoke from coming to the next room? Or, you know, sometimes it's doors, sometimes it's walls. I have a list of different types of tests here. It's not all of them, but just here's a couple for you. We'll call it the UL 263. The UL 723, NFPA 252, and the UL 1479. So these different tests are all just basically ensuring that the building material is capable of meeting whatever building code requirements are for fire rated walls. So, you know, a hospital is particularly picky about fire resistant doors, fire resistant walls, what have you. And they're, unfortunately, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but the hospitals, you know, like these types of ratings directly determine what kind of material is used, as is everywhere else. But I guess you get where my drift is here. Okay, so I think I covered it. But I guess one more time. It's the Victorian house up there. There's somebody standing outside now, so I don't want to go over there. But essentially, if the fire can go from the base all the way to the top extremely fast, and then if you look at this neighborhood and all these houses and vegetation that surround it, you know, if that thing catches on fire and there's wind, and there is a lot of wind in this area, you know, it could light up a neighborhood very fast. So again, that's kind of it for the presentation. I appreciate. Oh, I guess I should mention the fire suppression. I'm sorry, the Fire Prevention Bureau of Pleasanton Livermore follows the International Fire Code. That's all I have. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video, and look forward to working with you more. Take care.